All right, we first of all want to welcome everyone to Wedgwood Church, and we're going to start the morning with, oh, what a beautiful morning.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I know the song.
Can you see it?
No, I don't. Oh, it's by Ray
Takes a
Charles?
second.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Belma, did you press the two buttons so the sound could share?
Yes. You want me to go back and do it again?
Yeah, try it again.
I hear something.
Yeah, I don't know how to get it stopped now.
Press pause.
Oh, there it is.
As an elephant's eye, and it looks like it's climbing.
Can we start it again?
Clear up to the.
We missed the good part of it.
Okay, let's see if I can figure out how to do that.
Just slide the thing back. Slide the little red line back.
I can't even find it now.
Oh, okay.
Liz, can you manipulate it?
Yeah, go ahead and turn it off on your computer and I'll share it.
I'm a try.
I hear your kitty, Liz.
Yeah, he's hanging out with me.
Can't find the stop share.
Backstab.
Well, just press X on that page so that page closes.
Okay.
See, that'd be me.
Okay.
There's a bright golden haze in the meadow. There's a bright golden haze in the meadow. The cone is as high as an elephant's eye, and it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky. Well, I say, oh, what a beautiful morning. Yeah. Yes, what a wonderful day. Y'all look out there. I've got a beautiful feeling. Everything going my way. Y'all come on now. Cattle are standing like statues. The cattle are standing like statues. They don't turn their heads as they see me ride by. But a little brown maverick is winking her eyes. She said, oh, what a beautiful morning. Well, what a wonderful day. Y'all to know, I've got a beautiful feeling. I've got everything. And everything going my way. Everything going my way, my way. sounds of the earth like music. The sounds of the earth are like music. The breeze is as busy, it don't miss a tree. And a little old weeping willow is laughing at me. She said, oh, what a beautiful morning. Yes, what a wonderful day. Yeah, I got a beautiful feeling. I got everything. Everything. Woo, everything's going my way. I'm sorry, but I got everything going my way. My way.
Thank you. Very nice.
And good morning, Wedgwood. It is a beautiful morning, isn't it? Nothing
It
like
is.
Buddy Charles to start the morning with. I think I've just wanted something this morning to perk us all up and make us all feel good. These are tough weeks. But welcome to everyone, and Thomas will now lead us in our extravagant welcome.
Okay. We are all welcome here. Welcome to a church that works for peace, justice, equality, and the care of Mother Earth. An extravagant welcome to you because of your gender identification, sexual orientation, ethnicity, economic situation, physical and mental challenges, doubting or believing, being depressed or full of joy. We are a community of curious and creative spiritual seekers, striving to learn and embody the way of Jesus and other spiritual leaders. Like Jesus, we focus on the plundered and the marginalized as we try to address the major issues of our day. One of the ways we seek to heal the world and ourselves is through sharing parts of our personal story. We are all welcome here.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. We are all welcome here, and we are glad. Christine, do you go by Christine or Chris?
Either one is fine. Normally it's Chris, but it seems like half the people that I've met in Charlotte are Chris's.
Okay.
Call me
Well,
Christine. Either one is.
We welcome you back. We're so glad you're here. And Chris has joined our Social Justice Book Club on Thursday night too. So we're really enjoying getting to know you. Just the regular announcements of our Humanianity group, our Spiritist group, Philosophy group. They are all continuing to meet. The links are on our Facebook page, and they would love to have you join their group. Our Social Justice Book Club is still meeting on Thursdays, and we are just enjoying it, I think, more and more every week. We're halfway through How to Be Anti-Racist, and I can tell you it has shook some things for me. Some things I think we've all had some wow moments of coming to realization of things we weren't aware of and didn't know. So it's been great. And as soon as we finish this book, we are going to begin discussing the essays of James Baldwin. So if you would like to join us, please do. And the essays of James Baldwin will be provided. You won't have to buy anything for that. But we welcome everyone to come, and members of the church, non-members of the church, anyone is certainly welcome. Are there any more of that type of announcement today?
Maybe you should mention that the book club is every other Thursday.
Yes, every 2 weeks. So we have 2 weeks to do the reading.
So
And some chapters it takes me that long because I read and reread trying to get it in my brain.
the next one is going to be the 24th, I think.
Yes.
I have an announcement about the food pantry.
Okay.
We have been receiving donations, which is great, but our monetary fund is running really low. We need financial donations because that is what we use to actually go and buy the products in bulk, because the donations as they stand right now don't cover what we actually need. So like Jessica and I are actually going to run to Costco this afternoon to buy, spaghetti and sauce and canned vegetables, things like that. And so we need financial donations. We're really getting low. So please, please, please dip into your pockets and write a check to the food pantry because we've been feeding about 200 cars
Wow,
a week.
Wow.
that's a lot of people in need.
Yeah.
Is there a link?
Does the check have to be made to the
somewhere on
Wedgwood Food Pantry or what?
Yeah, you can write a check to the Wedgwood Food Pantry and just mail it to Wedgwood, 4800 Wedgwood Drive. I'll put the address in the chat box,
Well,
and it'll go
I've been
directly to the
sending-
food pantry. And
I've been-
any check that you write, it can be, we can give you a tax statement as a write-off at the end of the year if you want it.
Well, I've been making a check to Wedgwood Church, so that does not go to the food pantry.
No, that goes to the Wedgwood Fund. It's a separate thing.
Okay, well, I didn't understand that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
that
there's the
goes to
Wedgwood
pay our
Church and then there's
bills.
Wedgwood Food Pantry. There's two different funds.
I didn't understand that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one
well,
is
hopefully
Wedgwood
that's cleared
Church
up.
to pay our bills, and the other is for the food pantry.
Mhm.
Christine, were you getting ready to ask something?
It was already answered. I was going to ask the same thing as who I can check out to. So thank you.
Well, if Liz will put that mailing address in the chat box, and everybody just hit chat at the bottom, and she will post it. That will cover our announcement also for our offering. If you're going to play the general fund for Wedgwood Church to help pay the bills, make it to Wedgwood Church. If you want to make a donation to the food pantry, make it to Wedgwood Food Pantry. Any other announcements of that type? All right, then we come to our time of remembrance and celebration, prayer and reflection. Chad has been sick the last couple of days, so we would like to remember him today, Chad Turner, not feeling well, so let's remember him. I know Mimi is still dealing with family issues with her sister-in-law that we had mentioned before, going into memory care. That's a long transition and it's difficult on a lot of people. Ashanti, would you like to give us an update about your daughter?
Oh, well, I spent the week with my daughter, helping her as she had returned home from rehab, and she's doing okay, but she still needs help. So that's what's happening right now. So I think it's going to be a constant thing, until. So I have to keep going back and forth, I think, to help out and maybe get some family members involved to help with my granddaughter and so on. So just prayers for her that she gets all the care and everything that she needs to be comfortable in life with this MS.
I know as we mentioned, Todd and Mario are traveling, so safe travels for them. Are the heirs traveling this weekend, Donna?
Yes, I think they're at the beach,
Yes. So,
off season at the beach, and probably Chris and Will are golfing.
yes. Well, we'll wish them safety.
Yeah.
Any others? Celebrations, remembrances, or prayer requests?
I have a celebration and then a prayer request. The celebration is my sister has started her job in Raleigh and she's moving tomorrow. So that's really exciting for her. But I have a prayer request for my mom and my grandmother. My mother lives with my grandmother, and my grandmother's in her 90s, and she's starting to, physically she's great, but mentally she's starting to decline. And my mother is her primary caretaker, and it's really hard on her.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that.
And I have a prayer request too. I don't know, some of you that are on my Facebook page may have seen some comments this week with a couple things that I posted, and the conversation that led to how sad and heartbroken so many people are to see someone they've known all their life, to really see them for who they are for the first time. And it all stems around racism. And a couple people actually used the word, and I like this because I have been there and I am there with some friends and even a family member grieving the loss of who I thought they were.
Mm.
And I thought that's really powerful and a beautiful way to say it. I've had to go my separate ways. We're no longer Facebook friends, but I'm grieving. I'm grieving the loss of who I thought she was. And there are a lot of us that are going through that at this time because it's just time to let those people go. We don't need them in our lives. So let's just remember what's going on with a lot of people and grieving the loss of who they thought friends and family members were, and realizing they never were who I thought they were. Because that's a tough one. It's a really, really tough one, but it's something that's needed right now. Any others? All right, then let's have a moment of silence. We lift these prayers and remembrances and celebrations up. We ask for healing and strength and courage. May the spirit of life, the spirit of love be with each and every one of us in our individual concerns, heartbreak, and healing. Amen.
Amen.
And now Donna is going to do Saint and Sinner for us this morning.
Okay. My saint for today is American Baptist sociologist Tony Campolo.
Oh,
In searching for a saint or sinner, I was reminded of a Pathos article by Daryl Lackey, inspired by Campolo, titled, "Christian, You Are Upset About the Wrong Things." Campolo was known to begin his talks to Christian audiences with this challenge. I have 3 things I'd like to say today. First, while you were sleeping last night, 30,000 kids died of starvation or diseases related to malnutrition. Second, most of you don't give a shit. And Campolo's third point, what's worse is that you're more upset with the fact I said shit than you are that 30,000 kids died last night. When we talk about tolerance, we are also talking about intolerance. What do we tolerate? What won't we tolerate? Here's some examples from Lackey. I'm sure you have some of your own. If you become upset when hearing that gay marriage is legal, or that a transgender person may use the same public restroom as you, but you are less upset regarding the hate, violence, and
Mhm.
discrimination directed towards such people, often leading to suicide. You are upset about the wrong things. If you become upset when people are using the greeting Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas, but you are less upset at the wasteful use of resources during this season and the rampant, shallow consumerism while many live in poverty, you are upset about the wrong things. One more.
Mhm.
If you become upset at the grocery store when you see someone pay for their food with vouchers or food stamps, but you are less upset with the institutional and cultural structures that often create this very need for help, you are upset about the wrong things. Are we at Wedgwood upset about the wrong things? According to the documents that Melba shared this week, I think we got it right. I think we are a church trying to make right things right. Just as a side note, Tony Campolo had a stroke this summer, and it was a pretty serious stroke, but he is making progress and is expected to leave rehab the first week in October. So keep him in your prayers. Thank you.
Amen. Those are
Thank you.
some powerful thoughts.
Hey,
Yes.
Donna, can you post that onto the Facebook page?
Yes, I'll be glad to.
Thank you.
I'll send it. I guess I
You
can
can send it
probably
to me or you can post it.
say what now?
You can either send it to me or you can post
Okay,
it.
I'll probably send it to you, Melba.
All right. And that does bring us to the topic for today, which is tolerance. Tolerance of different perspectives, different spiritual paths, different ways of knowing God have become the defining qualities of Wedgwood Community Church. But I want you also to think, I really don't like the word tolerant when I think of Wedgwood Church, because I think we go far beyond just being tolerant. We welcome, we cherish those different spiritual paths. We cultivate, we embrace the diversity. But for today, I will be using the word tolerance in what I'm speaking about. But just know we are beyond just being tolerant. I think that's a pretty low bar. We are a church built on respect, freedom, and yes, tolerance. It's the reason that many of us came to Wedgwood Church. We were seeking a place of tolerance in our religious and spiritual journey. We were seeking freedom from a creed or from dogma. But with tolerance, we know there can also be struggles and debates about the scope and application of true tolerance. How tolerant do we need to be? Must we tolerate intolerance? What if someone is a challenge to our core values? What do we do when situations challenge our commitment to each other? As we think about what is going on in our world, I am sure this situation has come up in a lot of our personal lives. I just mentioned some of the conversations on Facebook on my page this week, and some people had reached the end of their tolerance for friends, for family members. Chris Ayers told a story this week about his dad, and if you haven't read it, go back and find it on his page. His intolerance for his dad's political and religious beliefs, but wishing he had handled his intolerance perhaps in a different way and not have said some of the things that he said. It's a very poignant story. It's difficult to know where and when to draw that line. There's so much polarization today, and we all are struggling with how to deal with it with our friends, with our families, and yes, within our Wedgwood community. We want to come together somehow, but that just doesn't seem to be happening. Thanksgiving dinners and family reunions are not the same as they once were. So, what are our limits at Wedgwood Church community of tolerance? As a church community built on tolerance, tolerance is important. But it's important to remember that tolerance is not our ultimate goal. Tolerance is the means to reaching our ultimate goal. Tolerance is the means to achieve our goal and what we have written in the documents that you received this week. Tolerance is the means by which we strive to create a spiritual center where everyone feels safe and welcome. But what do we do when we encounter those situations that challenge our tolerance? And as we mentioned last Sunday, we discussed the two documents, and they are posted on Facebook, and they have also been emailed. One is core values and principles, and the other is behavioral principles, how we treat each other. Please read and reflect on those. We will vote on those in the conclave on September 27th. The Leadership Council feels these documents will help us to define who Wedgwood truly is and what our core values are, and yes, where our tolerance ends. How open and tolerant can we be? Are we just a wide open religion, anything goes? I think not. Our commitment to diversity, equality, and tolerance means demanding that everyone gets a seat at the table, that every person's inherent worth and dignity is recognized at that table, that no one is devalued or excluded based on a fixed or fundamental part of their identity. Discrimination, violence, bigotry, and disrespect to each other do not get a seat at the table. Tolerance is a word and a value and a practice, but it can also be misconstrued. We cannot be indifferent and say we're being tolerant. We can't be neutral at times and say we're being tolerant. We can't just be unresponsive or put our heads in the sand and ignore things and say we're being tolerant. We can't watch while someone is disrespected or devalued and call it tolerance. There's nothing hypocritical about declaring tolerance and being intolerant of intolerance. Being tolerant is never about not caring or being indifferent. Tolerant means welcoming. Indifference means ignoring bad behavior. It is the I am free to do whatever I want to, and you can't make me do it. You have to tolerate it. Sound familiar? What is missing in that statement is the disregard for the good and the welfare of others. What is missing in that statement is valuing other people. What is missing in that statement is the worth and dignity of every human being. And always above tolerance must come that value and worth and respect for all individuals. We work for a more equitable world that cannot be a religion that tolerates all behavior. We can be a religion that tolerates all kinds of diversity, but we cannot refuse to acknowledge that which is wrong or degrades individuals and destroys our community's wholeness. We've all been a part of communities that struggle with people who are different. They struggle with inclusion, struggle with opinions that are different from their own, a different theology. And again, that's why most of us came, or many of us came to Wedgwood. That brings us back again to the struggle of defining our limits of tolerance so everyone who came seeking tolerance is valued equally. Defining our limits of tolerance, I think, goes back to a word, covenant. A covenant is an agreement between two or more people to do or not to do something. And I found this ecclesiastical definition, and I love this for Wedgwood. It is a solemn agreement between the members of the church to act together in harmony with respect for one another. Let's think of the principles and core values and the behavior guidelines of how we treat each other as our covenant going forward. It is our agreement to live in harmony as a diverse community. Part of the covenant sets limits on how we will be with each other. We have no creed, but we have mutual promises of love and respect. Promises of together building a world of peace and justice and supporting each other in our individual spiritual journey. It's important because how we are when we are together is so very important. How we treat each other, how we talk to each other, how we welcome our visitors, our volunteers, our donors, even strangers, the food pantry, choir practice, social events. How we are when we are together matters. When people go against our values, our covenant calls on us to call them back into covenant so that we are always upholding the value and dignity of every individual. One example I found was a group called Operation Save America. They went in and interrupted a more progressive worship service, shouting pro-life chants and being generally disruptive. Beyond tolerance, right? But the congregation asked the group to either be respectful and join them in worship or leave. Some stayed, and some had to be escorted out. But as this was happening, the congregation began leaving their seats and forming a circle around the inside of the church and singing. This church defined their limits of tolerance with an invitation to be respectful. And it soon became not so much about pro-life or pro-choice, but respect for each other. Tolerance was very clearly setting its limits that morning. When we show tolerance with respect for difference, we invite respect in return. Covenant promotes respect and wholeness. Tolerance in covenant gives the opportunity for neighbors who experience life and God differently to sit side by side. Our neighbors may just know something important that we have not yet experienced. It's okay for the people sitting beside us not to believe the same thing that we do. Reverend Bob Shank, an evangelical pro-life minister, wanted to engage in a political response about gun violence. He wanted to develop a moral and ethical response to gun violence. And quite often with pro-life groups, people ask, how can you be pro-life and against gun violence? But that group joined with its polar opposite, the Unitarian Universalists. There was absolutely no common ground on pro-life, but they found common ground to address gun violence. There was tolerance with limits of respect, and they worked together. Reverend Shank did not give up who he was. UUs did not give up who they were. They respectfully found common ground. Rebecca Parker, the theologian and minister for the All Souls Church in Washington, D.C., said, In the practice of tolerance, we have to begin to let go of all of our present opinions and prejudices about the other. And instead of seeing others through the veil of our opinions of who they are and what their value is, we have to let that fog part and become more and more open to the other as a real presence in our lives. We must begin to see the uniqueness and the particularity of each one next to us. We don't define who they are. We allow them to define to us who they are. A greater intimacy results in the experience, a more vivid presence of others. And there's a name for this, and it's the word love.
Mm-hmm.
Tolerance comes down to love. How do we get to a place where difference is not threatening? Audre Lorde in Sister Outsider, the American feminist and activist, says, the difference calls us to love. Difference is threatening to us because we are all bound up in the interdependent web. We are all interrelated. We are different and we are interrelated, but yet we are separate. And that closeness can sometimes feel threatening. When we celebrate our difference is when interdependence becomes non-threatening. Only within the interdependence do our different strengths become acknowledged and equal to the power to seek new ways of being in this world and the courage to act. In other words, tolerance with respect and boundaries sparks possibilities. In this moment, where difference feels so threatening and we struggle to define tolerance, and as a church, we sometimes feel confused on setting limits of tolerance and openness, let's look to that power of covenant that we are looking at on the 27th. The power of covenant for building community and establishing accountability. May we not be overtaken by fear, but rest firmly in our covenant and commitment and our theology of love while we define our limits and gently call one another back into covenant together so that we can all live in harmony in this interdependent web. The Wedgwood table is bigger, not because you can say or do any horrible thing that you want to at Wedgwood. It's bigger because every person's inherent worth is safe and protected here. May it be so for you, for our church community, and for our world. Ashanti?
All right. This song that I'm about to put on, I think it is perfect ending to our message today. It's called "Wake Up, Everybody," and we need to wake up to do exactly what you're just speaking about, to understand the tolerance and how much you're going to tolerate and the sensitive balance between the two. You know, Melba, as you were speaking, I was thinking of our encounter with John. Like, you know, that was an aggressive behavior, and to myself, I'm trying to be nice too, but how much will you tolerate of disrespect? You know, it's like, okay, wait a minute, trying to be nice here, but you're going a little overboard. So yeah, it's a fine line to that. So let me I think I have to take these out. No, I'm going to keep these in, but let me just move for just a second.
Wake up, everybody, no more sleeping in bed. No more backward thinking, time for thinking ahead. World has changed so very much from what it used to be. There's so much hatred, war and poverty. I don't know if you can hear the music or not. Whoa, and all the teachers trying to teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen to what you have to say. They're the ones who's coming up, and the world is in their hands. When you teach the children, teach them the very best you can. The world won't get no better if we just let it be. The world won't get no better. We got changes, Wedgwood, you and me. We got all the doctors make the old people well. They're the ones who suffer and catch all the hell. They don't have so very long for their judgment day. So why can't we make them happy before they pass away? Wake up all the builders, time to build a new land. I know we can do it if we all lend a hand. The only thing we have to do is to put it in our mind. Surely things will work out, cause they do it all the time. The world can't get no better if we just let it be. The world won't get no better. You got change and young, just you and me. We got change and yeah. I can't do it alone. I need your help. I need your help, Donna. I need your help, Melba. I need your help, John. I need your help, Chris. And I need your help, Liz. I can't do it. We can't do it alone. We got to save the children. We got to help the people. We got to save the children. Oh, everybody, just wake up. Everybody, wake up. Everybody.
Amen. Let us pray. This house, Wedgwood, is for the ingathering of nature and human nature. It's a house of friendship, a haven in trouble, an open room for the encouragement of our struggle. This place we call Wedgwood is a house of freedom, guarding the dignity and worth of every single person. It offers a platform for the free voice, for declaring, both in times of security and danger, the full and undivided conflict of opinion. Wedgwood is a house of truth-seeking, where scientists can encourage devotion to their quest, where mystics can abide in a community of searchers. It is a house of art, adorning its celebrations with melody and handiwork. Wedgwood is a house of prophecy, outrunning times past and times present in visions of future growth and progress. This house we call Wedgwood is a cradle for our dreams. It is the workshop of our common endeavor. May it be so. Amen.
Amen.